And so this story, I tell this story because everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own ways in which life itself is attempting and in the process of holding up a mirror to ourselves, of squeezing us in a manner of speaking, of squeezing the conditioned self out of us, of squeezing the holding and grasping and pushing and pulling, of squeezing the beliefs and the ideas and the concepts and the self-images. If we're really willing to look and see, we'll see that life itself is always in the process of waking us up. But if we are not in harmony with it, if we're not in agreement with it, if we're actually working at opposite ends to it, then it's a very rough ride indeed, as some of my own life can attest to, and probably those who hear these teachings can attest to. When we're not in harmony with what life is trying to show us, when we're not willing to see what it's trying to show us, life will just at some point have to keep ramping up its intensity until we're willing to see what we need to see. So life itself is in many ways our greatest ally. It's almost a spiritual cliche when spiritual teachers say life is your greatest teacher, and students nod as if they know what that means. But we can only know what it really means when we've really been through it, when we really allowed ourselves to really have life hold a mirror up to ourselves so we can see ourselves clearly. Those who think that awakening and enlightenment just comes because you have a wonderful experience are deluding themselves. Yes, there are those cases where someone has a spontaneous awakening, a spontaneous realization, and they really have very little, if any, karmic tendencies to really see through. They really have very little, if anything, that can to delude them again. But that's very rare. For most people, even after a very profound awakening, it's not done. The journey's not over. In many senses, it's begun. It's begun on a different level. But now the stakes are high. So we shouldn't delude ourselves into thinking that the path to enlightenment is just a rosy path. Because if we think it's just a rosy path, we're just going to be traveling in the direction of things. We're only going to let ourselves be pulled towards that which feels good, that which supports our notion, our image of what the path to awakening should be. But for most people, the path of awakening has, of course, wonderful moments, profound moments and realizations. But also the path of awakening is a very real, very gritty thing. It's not what most people sign up for when they say they want to be awakened. The truth of the matter is, most people who say they want awakening, they don't actually want to awaken. They want their version of awakening. What they really want is to be able to dream better, to have their dream feel really, really good, and to be really, really happy in their dream state. And that's okay if that's as far as we've evolved. But the real sincere impulse towards awakening and enlightenment is something that goes far, far beyond the desire to make our dream state better. It's that which is willing to open itself to, subject itself to anything and everything that's going to wake us up. When we have that internal willingness, that internal prayer that really and truly wishes for anything and everything we may need in order to come to a full awakening, no matter what it is, no matter if it's wonderful or terrible. The real, authentic impulse towards enlightenment is something that puts no conditions on what we need to go through to get there. And when you feel this, it's a bit frightening, because when you feel this, you know it's real. You have a sense when you've really taken off the conditions, when you've really let yourself let go of how you want your own awakening to go and what you want the journey to be like. It's frightening because you've let go of your illusion of control. And so I don't want to set up yet another idea that awakening has to be difficult. Of course, this itself is an illusion, is an image. Awakening itself need not be difficult. But to traverse that non-abiding awakening to abiding awakening for many, many people is going to take more of them to come forth. It's going to take more from you than you ever imagined. You're going to have to be willing to see and look at yourself and encounter more reality than you could ever imagine. You're going to literally have to be willing to lose yourself and lose your whole world. And that may sound romantic when you first hear it. It may sound romantic when someone says it. Oh, yes, I sign up. I'm willing to lose my whole world. But when your whole world starts to crumble, to crash down around you, when you start to come out of this unimaginable deep state of denial, it's something altogether different. It's something altogether more real and more gritty. And it's something that some people sign up for and some people don't.